Hey, how's it going? Let's try and do this live chat so you can see what everyone's saying. Yeah, I'm great. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Is it picking up? Because I think last time the microphone was a little bit quiet, so I'm going to try and... yes, fantastic, great, yeah. Yeah, this scratch plate, my friend who built this guitar many years ago, he managed to get it. But there's a company called Waterslide Guitars who you want to check out, and they're doing some great reproductions of the Coodercaster. And they actually have, or the guy I've spoken to, I've emailed him actually, he's got some of these. So, hey, how's it going? Pro, great to see you. John, pleasure. Who is it? Tristan, Battle Scarred. I'm going to tell you the truth because you guys deserve the truth. This body is an MJT body, this is how I pretty much bought it. And it's actually got a thin layer of lacquer, nitro lacquer on there. So this is not bare wood. This has kind of been relicked and then it's been lacquered, which is, I guess, interesting. But the neck is actually, the most expensive thing about this guitar is the neck, which is it's a Navigator neck from ESP. And the ESP Strats cost about £3,200. So this neck is like half the guitar, so it's quite thin. It's not too fat, not too thin, but it's not too fat. Very flat radius, and it's quite wide, so it's really good. You know, it's great for the finger picking sort of. And then when you come to slide, I've got my slide here. Hi Thomas, how's it going? So it's great for sliding, you know, but a lot of the times actually, guys, this is in D major. And a lot of the times I just like sort of, just kind of finding, just noodling, you know. What I did to get into the whole Coodercaster and the D tuning a few years back, I just learnt the major scale. So that's your first pattern. Your second pattern. Sorry, I missed a note out there. So you just like learn your major scale. Jose, how's it going from California? ¿Tú puedes hablar español? And Probe is from Germany, Stan? Hi everyone, how's it going? Part 2 with the Dumble. Where are you going to go? Right, okay, we're going to talk about that. Sí, José, mucho bueno conocido. Mi español no es tan bueno, pero mi padre fue de Argentina, por eso yo puedo hablar español. Right, talking about the Dumble. We were talking about the Dumble, Mr. Alexander himself. Right, so the guy that had the Dumble, he's going to be watching this video. So I can't say anything about him or his Dumble. Has he got it? Hasn't he got it? I can't say anything. I can't even discuss it. So even that's kind of going too far. But if there is any chance of me getting a Dumble, it's going to be through my friend, whether the one's coming through England or not, or if there's one in England. So I'll keep you posted because it's quite possible that there may be a Dumble, hopefully a Dumble video with a real Dumble in the future. So I really want to make that happen, and I know a man that can make that happen. So there's still a chance. I haven't given up hope, you know. So let me just see these. Right, who we got here? Oh, gracias, Jose. Yeah, I can speak Spanish because basically, cut a long story short, I'm from Essex, and from Essex people in England, a lot of people laugh when you say. I guess in America it might be like a hillbilly. It's kind of like a, I don't know where hillbillies come from, Kentucky, or if you're in New York or LA and somebody comes in a restaurant and you hear them talking in a hillbilly accent, it's probably kind of similar for someone in London hearing an Essex accent. I'm from Essex, and everyone kind of laughs. So everyone's really shocked in England that I can speak Spanish, you know, coming from Essex. And there's a lot of jokes about Essex, people from women and men from Essex, you know, so we're the butt of a lot of jokes, you know. But it's all true. All the jokes are true. So whatever you hear about Essex, it's all true, you know. Avoid it if you can. But no, it's actually a very nice place where I come from. I now live in north, sort of Greater London. But I do miss Essex because there's a beautiful countryside. And actually in Essex, believe it or not, the great Peter Green, Peter Green, my favourite guitar player, one of them, he lives in Essex now. He lives in a place called Canvey Island. Okay, so he, and actually Danny Cohen from Fleetwood Mac was also living in Essex. So and Dr. Feelgood came from Essex, a singer called Alison Moyet. Iron Maiden used to hang out a lot in Essex in a pub in my hometown, Colchester. So there's a lot of there's a little bit of music, kind of rock and roll history from Essex, where I come from, you know. But I guess you could say that about anywhere in England, but you know, Essex is not all bad, but it's pretty bad, you know. That's why I moved out. So yeah, where were we? We're talking about Dumble. So Dumble, yeah, we're gonna hopefully. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Essex. Yeah. Right. Look up. Like, I don't want to be sexist or anything like that, but look up Essex girl jokes. You know, they're funny. Yeah, they're really really funny. You know. But you know, my first girlfriend was from Essex, so and she kind of she was a very nice, very very nice lady. But anyway, so where are we now? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got it. You know, in the comments, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. Let's move on. Let's change the subject. So yeah, this is the main thing. So guys, if you don't have a Coodercaster, I'm going to tell you two things. Number one, build one yourself. Build a Coodercaster yourself because it's a lot of fun. The frustration of building it, and then you kind of finally get it together. It's a big achievement, and it's a really good thing to tinker and build it. And then you can play slide guitar because you've got a guitar dedicated for the slide. This is a real one from the 50s. It's not a repro, but Mark from Mojo Pickups, he's a great guy. He can make you one. And this is a real 60s Tiesco gold foil pickup. And just together, you can put them together. But I just love this pickup here on its own. It's beautiful. It's really, really nice. Please play Milk and Alcohol. You know what? I will get a telly out in a minute, and I'll do that. Wilco Johnson. In fact, if anybody doesn't know Milk and Alcohol, and if anybody doesn't know Wilco Johnson, the great guitar player that played it, I just go and check out Wilco Johnson because he is amazing. He's a force of nature. You know, he literally is. He kind of defied an illness recently, and he's just got the most amazing. When I saw him play live in a small little place in Essex where I come from, because Wilco's from Essex, he played for an H&H guitar amp. Now H&H are like the amp that you bought when you can't afford anything else. It's a transistor amp. I don't know if you got them in America. They're just like H&H. They're terrible. They're awful, horrible amplifiers, you know. But whenever you were first starting off guitar, your mate always had an H&H amp, you know, and the reverb really sucked. But he played through this H&H amp and he made it sound amazing. So there you go. He learned from Mick Green. Is Mick Green the guy from... yeah, we've got an SG here, yeah. Mick Green, was he the guy, Mick Abrams from the Groundhogs? Is that right? Or is there another Mick Green? I don't know. But the Groundhogs, they were a band, a pretty cool British blues band, you know. And they're still going. I think they're still going. I don't know if Mick Abrams is still around, but they're, you know, really, really good sort of solid blues band, you know. Another good band is Climax Blues Band, because you had the blues band, which is Paul Jones. I know Paul Jones, great guy. He used to be in Manfred Man, but Paul Jones is in another band called the Blues Band. And then you had the Climax Blues Band. And Climax Blues Band were a pretty good band, you know, back in the 80s. You know, they were doing a lot of stuff in the 70s and 80s, and they were pretty good, sort of, you know, good pub band in UK, and I think they did a few tours, you know. So yeah, back to the Coodercaster. What's really great about this thing is it's not playing slide, just playing, you know, your major scale. You learn the shapes, And you'll find out that when you're playing a scale on a detuning guitar, it sounds a bit weird because you're doing a lot of repeat. If you just play straight down, you kind of miss notes out. And there, if I played the scale, so there's the octave. You know, you can see it. It would be there in a normal guitar. It's here. But then the advantage is you can just literally do double stops like this. So you can get a little rhythm going. You can't do that kind of sound. Pirates, that's it. The Pirates. McGreen was Johnny and the Pirates, was it? Johnny, yeah. I played at a festival a couple of years ago, and they were there. They were playing. Yeah. You know what? I made this stream a bit later because I know you guys in America, you like a bit of a lay-in. And when it's 8 a.m. for us, it's like 2 in the morning for you guys. So. For me, I mean, I love talking to Americans because, you know, the electric guitar, it's the one instrument that comes from America. You know, the electric guitar it's an American instrument. It's not an English instrument. It's not German. You know, it's like German violin, Italian Stradivarius. You know, the electric guitar is American. It's an American instrument. You know, so there you go. Okay, Canadian. Yeah, well, one of my best friends comes from Canada. He comes from Vancouver, and so I know a little bit about Vancouver. And it's an amazing music scene. Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, amazing band. The singer just died from the Tragically Hip. Incredible band, you know. What a songwriter. It's a real sad story about Tragically Hip. But Gordon Lightfoot, yeah. Yeah, amazing. Canadian music, man, is incredible. There's some amazing artists, you know. So, Gordon Lightfoot, ever heard of him? Yeah, Gordon Lightfoot, is he Canadian? Please tell me he's Canadian. I think he is. Oh, I know. Gordon Lightfoot, rings a bell. I do know him. Don and Ross. Don Rosenbrook Miller. Yes, sir. Right, okay, great. Yeah, so Canadian. Let's talk a bit about Canadian music because I think that's, you know, it's often, you know, it's British blues and American rock and roll, you know. But Canadian artists, you know, they're very, very kind of unique, you know. And Sundown, yeah. Wow. So if anyone wants to suggest a track or an artist from Canada, we could make that a little theme of today's stream. So we're talking about as well. We're going to talk about Strats and Coodercasters and SGs. So we can talk about all that stuff as well. Pickups. I've come to a weird conclusion about pickups that pickups, as long as you kind of get in the right ballpark, it doesn't really matter that much. You know, I don't think, you know, pickups are like two cheeks of the same arse, having two different pickups. You know, it's gonna you know, you've got one Strat pickup and another Strat pickup. Okay, it doesn't really make that much difference. You know, I've seen a lot of people getting hung up about the Strat pickup. It's got to be this one. It's got, you know, I don't think it makes that much difference. You know, you tailor your playing and your volume and your amp. You know, so Leonard Cohen. Is Leonard Cohen Antoine Dafoe? Okay, especially with humbuckers. Yeah, humbuckers, man, they're all over the place. You know. Yes, yeah, but the tolerance is all over the place and they all sound the same. So, you know, you get some 70s Les Pauls that sound amazing, you know, and, you know, they're not very well made guitars. They're like sandwich bodies and they're, you know, I've slagged them off quite a bit on my channel, I think, but there's some 70s Les Pauls that sound absolutely incredible. And I've always said, even on this channel, I've said a 70s custom, like a 73 custom. You can't, yeah, Norland era, but yeah, they were a disaster. But I've got to say, Norland black customers are just the punkiest rock sleaze. If you're playing sleaze rock and roll, you want a Norlin era, you know, that kind of 70s, you know, when Keith Richards was really out of it on heroin, you know, a Norlin Les Paul, that's a guitar you want to be playing, you know, a really heavy one, you know. Yeah, smash the like button. As faster than you says smash the like button. A 73 Les Paul Custom is a thing of beauty. Disaster Custer. Disaster Custer. Yeah, Deluxe man. They're, you know, Robin Ford was playing a Deluxe recently, you know. Deluxe, you know, they have the little pickups, don't they, you know. They're great guitars, you know. They've now become sort of worth a bit of money, you know. Back in the day, they were a poor man's Les Paul, where you couldn't get a Les Paul, so you got a Deluxe, but now they're sort of seen in their own rights, you know. But yeah, I'm coming back to the Coodercasters. I want to say one last thing, guys. You know, if you want me to do some lessons on D tuning, and so I can unlock the fingerboard for you in D. There's so many beautiful things you can. You know, it's quite easy. It's not. It's quite kind of a linear way of playing, and then you can just get these sort of, you know, because you got the 2Ds. You go. It's easy to play. There's some great things you can do with D tuning which you just can't do with standard tuning. So if you want me to do some in the future, some you know, unlock, yeah, Elmore James. If you want me to do some lessons on how to, you know, unlock this, I will do this. Right, yes, right. So these pickups are the original ones. Okay, these are the original ones. Okay, all right, hold that thought, Thomas. I'm going to come back to you on this one. This is a 1960s Tiesco. This is a 1950s Valco. These are the original pickups. And I've got to say, no offence to the repros, because Mark does an amazing job, but the original ones, I know when I come back and I say, yeah, but pickups are all the same. They are. And like I said, Marks are pretty much 99% as good as these. This is like 1% difference. But these have a little bit of a magic, and they're kind of weaker because, you know, this is like a rubber magnet. But I don't know if it loses power. I don't think it does. But it's just got that. It's very mellow sort of tone. But you know, a lot of things can affect it. If you've got the wrong neck, like you're not going to believe this. I've had 10 necks, guitar necks, on this guitar. So I've always had this body, and this is ash. It's an ash body pickups, and I've never had the right neck. The neck has never sounded good, or it's not the right shape, or it's difficult to slide. And the Navigator ESP, Japanese make, just make an incredible neck. It's no good for playing you know, sort of Clapton, Hendrix. It's not good because it's wide and flat. But for the Coodercaster, you want a wide and flat neck, so it's fantastic. I've had a Fender neck. I've had about 5 Fender necks on this. I know, right, Fender guitars are amazing. I think if I can recommend a guitar to anyone, I would say a Mexican Road One. Let's get back to the Princeton and the Vox AC15. Right, okay, Cooder. So I was going to say Freddy Krueger there. No, Cooder. He says something really important. Check this out, guys. So you got like one of the best guitar players for tone. You know, Cooder is obsessed with guitar tone. You know, even at 70, he's like 72, 73. He's like in his rocking chair at home thinking about how can I get that guitar sound I have in my head. You know, this man is crazy. And he came to the conclusion that it's about small amplifiers. Okay, this is Cooder's. Cooder used to play like 150 watt or 200 watt high watt slave amp. This is a guy that was using Neve desk preamps into like the best Uri compressor, and he'd take that on the road. You know, there was a band he had with John Hyatt called Little Village or not Little Feet, obviously, something Village. I can't remember what they were called, but anyway. So Cooder's now come to the conclusion that it's about small amps. I mean, he's playing like here in London. I saw him last year on the Cadogan, or this year in Cadogan Hall. Cadogan Hall. It's an Irish built big theatre here in London. It's a big hall, and he's come to the conclusion it's all about 15 watts, 18 watts, 20 watts, 22 watts. That's it. That's all you need to fill a big hall. He has 4 amps, and they're all between sort of 15, 16, 22 watts. They're not loud, Maybe he's had a vibe reverb, so maybe he's had a 45 watt amp, but he's gone other stacks and the 100 watts and all that stuff. And he's right. I've been playing for the last 2 years. I've been playing an AC15. I've been playing projector amps, and one of them's like an AC15, which has got 2 EL84s. This is very loud because EL84s are a very, very loud tube, and the other one's got a 6v6, which is like a deluxe, a Tweed deluxe, and that's 14 watts, I think, and that's a lot more chilled out, a lot more quieter, But these amps, I've been playing them live at gigs, and you can, mic them up, so the sound man's happy. But they make a big sound. There's not going to be a lot of difference between a 50 watt and a 100 watt and a 16 watt amp because of the way watts work in ratio. So I think I think really what Cooder is saying is, guys, get small amps. Small amps are great because you can play them at home, and you can play them in a rehearsal and you can play them at a gig. You've got the best world, and you can drive them. And I guess the only situation where it wouldn't be good if you're playing in a very loud pub, like here in Britain. There's some loud pubs and everyone's talking, and you haven't got PA, you can't mic the amp up. Then you've got to probably have an AC30 or a 45 watt amp. So I could see that. But kind of the venues I personally play, everything's mic'd up always. So I don't need, a 45 watt amp. I used to have my 100 watt Dumbles, clones, I'll go and get one in a minute, but those amps were always too loud. I was always getting complaints, Did you try Wang's VT 5 watt? No, I haven't tried the VT, no. Do I ever use my SG at gigs? No, I don't. I'll tell you why in a minute. ZZ Top, small Marshall, lead 12. Yeah, that's what it's about. It's about, I think that's what it's about, small amps, you know what I mean? Using just using small amps, and then you can get the amp up. So ZZ Top only used a small Marshall lead 12 reverb amps. They are very good. Yeah, absolutely. I love my Boss Katana 50. So Boss Katana 50, because there's a pedal, isn't there a boost pedal that called the Katana? So the 50 watt, the Boss, yeah, I don't know. Right, tip, I guess, is that a solid state amp? Is that the Boss Katana, is that a solid state amp? If so, if you have a solid state amp, then it's kind of like, it's a bit different from a valve amp, because you don't have to, you're not, in a valve amp you've got to push it so it compresses and you get all that nice natural valve thing happening. Whereas with a Boss amp, it's solid state, so it doesn't matter if you play loud or you play less. It's not going to make much difference, I guess, unless the amp's set up for that. Yeah. So right. Okay. Great. Yeah. I mean, right. Check out. I'm not advertising any pedal builders here. We'll talk about pedals in a minute. I've got some news for you guys. But there's who's a guy, Kingsley Pedals. Kingsley Pedals. If you go to That Pedal Show and check out an interview with the Kingsley Pedal guy, it's probably the best YouTube video that pedal show I've ever done. Yeah, it's Kingsley. He's a maker of pedals. He's called Kingsley Pedals. Kingsley. Kingsley. And he makes pedals. Yeah, his pedals are like, they're no good in a valve amp. Okay. Oh yeah, we'll come back to, no, I'll come back to you on that. Right, so Kingsley Pedals, in my opinion, okay, they're no good for a valve amp, because a valve amp's doing all that stuff anyway. But this is, Kingsley Pedal is an amp builder, building pedals, okay? So he's put all his amp knowledge, and he's basically building a preamp, an amplifier preamp into a pedal. And he puts a tube, and he's worked out how to get enough current into that tube. Because a lot of pedals with a tube, they're not really using the tube because they haven't got enough current going through the tube to make it sort of worth it. But this Kingsley guy has actually worked out how to draw enough current, and he can basically build a preamp, like a preamp section of an amp inside a pedal. And these pedals are amazing, but they're only good in my opinion if you're going to use them for recording, or you're going to use them in a solid state like the Boss Katana. I think, or these amp modelers. I think they would sound good in that. But personally, I don't see the point of them in a valve amp situation, because we've got the tones. It's like Jimmy Page has done the fuzz tone, Jimi Hendrix has done the fuzz phase tone, Stevie Ray Vaughan has done the TS9 tone. So you don't need a valve. Those guys weren't using valves; they were using solid state pedals through valve amps. So we don't need that situation really. But I think the Kingsley pedal guy is very, very good. If you've got like a solid state amp, it could be very good. Have you heard of a song inspired by Los Milas Chicas, a great fusion between rock and Peruvian? I need to. Thank you very much. Yes. So that I'm going to check out that in the comments later and listen to that and get back to you, because I'm not an expert on Peruvian music, but I really love the cumbia from Peru, and there's some wicked. If you like quirky guitar, I love like spaghetti western guitar, and there's some really quirky music in two places in the world in the 1970s. One place was Nigeria, where they played really, really rubbish guitars through rubbish amps, and they sound really shitty. But I love that, and they'll have like a really mad effect that they bought from. Probably got it somehow from Japan, and it sounds awful, but just the playing's African style through this really naff gear. It's got a real charm to it. So I love that those records made in the 70s in Nigeria, and also in Peru in the 70s. You've got this mad psychedelic cumbia music. And again, you've got these really mad effects that sound awful and crap guitars, and but it's played really well. They've got the kind of Latin sort of style. It's bizarre music, but it's fantastic, and it's got great rhythm. So there's two music styles you want to check out, and I'm influenced a lot by both those sort of styles. I like them a lot. Maybe you're going to listen to them and think, what the hell? Don't listen to it. Don't listen to like Eric Clapton's 80s album, and then listen to that, because it won't, it doesn't go together well. Yeah, but Eric Clapton's 80s albums, when he was wearing the Armani suits, Phil Collins on the drums, Nathan East on bass, that was kind of amazing in another way, in a really kind of corporate way. That was amazing, But I also like the real lo-fi sort of stuff, the whole gold foils, which really Ry Cooder was responsible bringing these weird pickups into instruments, and making them, this is what they were using in Nigeria in the 70s, and in Peru they were using guitars with these pickups, which have now become in vogue, There's a lot of young guys, a lot of young guitar players in LA that are hip to all this and modding Strats and tellies and with all this stuff. Without a guitar. What, he played without a guitar? Did he play? He just sang, did he? I don't know if I've... Guys, one thing is, it's really... I don't know how to do this, but when your messages are coming up, I've got like 2 seconds to read it, and then they disappear. So let me just see if I can... Some messages... no, I can't do that. Preamp, yeah, Eric Clapton played without a guitar in the 80s at some shows, and that's not right. That's terrible, yes. All right, have you heard about Danny Kerwin recently? Don't know if you believe... Okay, right, so... Niall says, there's a video I released where a guy phoned up. He contacted me and then he phoned me up. And he says that he knew Danny Kerwin. Okay? And what do I think about it? Well, this is what I think about it. I think that he believes 100% that he knew Danny Kerwin. He believes, like, for him, and I believe him, he believes it 100%. I mean, I don't believe... I'm not saying I believe that he actually met the real Danny Kerwin, but I do believe he genuinely thinks he met the real Danny Kerwin. Okay, so I mean, that video could be distressing for his son, because his son is alive and well in England, and his ex-wife. So I'm kind of debating, shall I take that video down or not? But then I don't want to offend the guy who I did a phone conversation with, because he's so adamant that he knew Danny Kerwin, and he can't, he doesn't compute that it's not. So I'm kind of sitting on the fence. I don't really have an opinion, but maybe, I don't want to say anything, because I know I've spoken to this guy. We spoke once on the telephone. He sent me some emails. He's a really nice guy, and I think I think he means well, and he's not a liar. He's not trying to just get publicity. He genuinely believes that that was Danny Cohen. And my opinion is basically this: where I don't know if it was the real Danny Cohen or not. You know, I don't know, because Danny Cohen's son hasn't come out, or his wife, and fair enough, I guess. Danny Cohen was a bit of a tortured soul, and they just want to kind of let the dust settle, and they feel they don't need to go into his life, which is fair enough, because he probably had a bit of a sad life. By all accounts, from what I heard, this is what I personally heard, is that he was homeless in Covent Garden, and he was pretty rough, but he was getting some royalty checks. Somehow he got some royalty checks, and I think maybe he pulled himself together at some point. And then apparently he ended up, his last days were in a South London, in Brixton, in an old people's home in Brixton. And that's where, because I actually was going to try and meet him about 4 or 5 years ago. I wanted to go and meet the guy, and and just talk to him, just like go into this old people's home, and I actually was on the computer trying to find out where it was. I was working for Lewisham Council for their music department at the time, and I was going to try and find out through a few work colleagues, if this place existed and if he lived there. And I was going to go and meet him, try to meet him, and unfortunately I never chased it up, and I can't now because he's dead. But yeah, it'd be very interesting for somebody to sort of come out of the shadows and give some some news about him, what he did with his life. And I guess that's kind of why I left it up, because I thought, well, this guy has come out with this strong story. Maybe it's going to provoke the real story to come out, if that's not the real story, But there you go. So, with all due respect to that guy on the telephone, I know he thinks he's telling the truth. Whether or not it's truth, we don't know. Right. So let's just have a look. Will you be doing any more videos with Bob and his guitar? Okay. Fantastic. Yeah, great. Thanks, Jay Trem. Bob and I, he's got a jet set lifestyle. He's here, there, and everywhere. I think the last I saw of him on Facebook, he was visiting some friend in a mansion. So he's obviously having a lot of fun wherever he is. But we did reschedule. We're going to go. Yeah, let me tell you, we're going to go to someone's very cool guitar collection. He's got some amazing guitars, and we're going to go to his place and check out his guitars very soon. So yeah, I'll let you know. It's going to maybe 2 weeks time, maybe a couple of weeks time. We're going to make that happen. Okay, traditional style electric guitar would you buy was 300 quid. Any hidden Japanese gems you can share? Okay, it depends what you want. If you want a Japanese guitar, okay, first of all, Alun, can you come back to me and tell me a Strat, Tele, Les Paul, tell me kind of the style of guitar, and then I can maybe help you. Clapton in the early 80s, so this is Chicken Picking, says Clapton in the early 80s, he was heavy into drink and drugs. He played one gig in the 60s or 70s, so drunk he had to lie down on stage. Yeah, I heard about that one. He was hammered for 20 years most of the time. Yeah, that's right, yeah. And it's really, so it's great that he managed to pull himself together. I mean, Clapton's a man, Oh, thank you, John. That's really, respect, man. I'm honoured. Aaron says, have you tried a 1965 Gibson Music Maker? I'm planning to get one. How much I have to pay for one? Is it similar to a Junior from these years? It's a shame that Bob couldn't answer this, but I have actually played a Music Maker. They're actually very good guitars, and I think everybody needs a vintage guitar. We buy sort of, this is a modern guitar really. It's an MJT body, it's a 2012 neck. This is a 2002 ESP, but let me just show you this guitar. I'm just going to show you this. So, this here, did you mean Melody Maker? Yeah, sorry, Melody Maker, yeah. I have a JV Squire, yeah. So this is a 1965 Guyatone guitar. When you have a vintage instrument, it's another thing. It's like you approach the instrument totally different. The sounds inside are different because the pickups are old. Everything's aged together. So it's great to have one vintage. I suggest everyone to have a vintage instrument, just one, if you can afford it, obviously. But this wasn't expensive. This is a Japanese instrument. You know, these aren't desirable. They're not like a Gibson or a Fender. So I can't afford a Fender or Gibson, but I can afford one of these. You know, so get a Japanese vintage instrument or a German. You know, even a Swedish. What a Swedish did. What's it make? A Swedish Hagstrom. You know, they're cheap, and you can get some 60s stuff that's really cool. You know, quirky stuff is just nice to have around your collection. Right, JV Squires. Yeah, the whole Fender. There was a famous story that when the American CEOs and the chairman, whatever, the board from Fender actually went over to the Greco factory in Japan where they were making the Japanese version of Fender. They held the guitars and one of the guys started crying because he said, we haven't seen a guitar like this since the mid 60s, because the Japanese were so good at copying the vintage style Strats. So if you can get a second-hand Squire, that's a great instrument. For £300, I would say, yeah, you can get Navigator Strat, which is what I'm looking for at the moment. They're called Esparto, Esparto. Sometimes they're 600, but you can find some deals in Japan. But then you've got to think about shipping, so that's probably not a good idea. Tokai make pretty good instruments, and there's some various models that you can get. But just like that guy said, our other friend here says the JV Squires are really, really good. I mean, George Harrison played a Squire JV for quite some time. So, Japanese, anything Japanese, from the 80s is going to be good. It's going to be good quality. So just look for a Squire or a Greco or something like that, and it's going to be, and you can, once you've got it, you can always change it. So it's, change the nut. With this particular guitar here, it was unplayable when I got it. It was completely unplayable. I put some 6100 frets. I rewired it completely because it was a stereo guitar. These 3 strings went to one amp. These 3 strings went to another amp. And you've got these funny controls here to select the 2 pickups. This is half a pickup. This is another half a pickup. So this is how you split the guitar from one amp to the other. And the neck, the nut, the original nut, it's got a 0 fret, if you can see there, but the original nut is really small, so the strings were kind of closer together. So you had this, wasted bit of wood. So we put a new nut on there and spread the strings, and now it just plays like butter. It's like a Jaguar Jazzmaster sort of tremolo. Hagstrom, that's it. Yeah, okay, Mexican Road Worn. Tim Lurch, I think there's a guy called Tim Lurch, Tim Lurch, Lerch, Tim Lurch. Go to his YouTube channel. He's a jazz guitarist. Go to his YouTube channel, watch his video about a Telecaster Road Worn Mexican, and trust me, you'll just want to buy one after seeing his video. I mean, he really goes into in-depth details about that guitar, and they're very, very good guitar. Mexican Road Worn Telecaster, and you're sorted. It's a fantastic guitar, Okay, let's have a look. What we got here? I've played some surprisingly good guitars from Japan. Kasuja, yep, that's the factory. Yeah, pleasure, Alan. So, okay, Ove says, don't know anything about prices. Yeah. Prices in Japan, it's all over the place, and the problem at the moment is you've got to pay customs charges and shipping, so it's kind of like, it's better to buy a Japanese guitar in wherever you are in America, Canada, or UK. Yeah, it's it's basically it's got a spring, like a Bixby spring inside here, and it's sort of pretty simple, very simple design. It's got this lip here. I don't know if you can see this, so that moves. Does it move? A little bit, but it's very sort of. So if you want to do this sort of Hank Marvin sort of. That sort of thing is great for that, you know. So what have we got here? Another question. That's a seriously ugly guitar. Gary, I've got some friends. Gary. I was just about to say I've got a friend called Gary who says this is a seriously ugly guitar, and guess what? It's you, Gary. So we're just talking about Japanese guitars. So this I don't know. Right, you could say this is ugly, but you could also say this is a very sort of Cadillac. It's it's like a tail fin of a Cadillac. That sort of 50s. It just looks dangerous and mean. You know what I mean? I mean it's not heavy. It's like £9. This is mahogany. It's just like one slab, big slab of mahogany. Thanks. John likes it, so there you go, Gary. Not everyone hates it, but it is a very unique looking instrument. It's there's a photo of Ry Cooder. This is the reason I got this, because Ry Cooder had one, and he's just sitting like this with these sunglasses. And it's just got a photo of Ry Cooder with this guitar, and it just looked. I need to have that guitar. Thank you, Ovi. So this guitar basically it was used on an album called Mambo Sinuendo, which is one of my favourite albums. Okay, has anybody heard of Blake Mills? Anybody heard of a young guitar player called Blake Mills? I've got a theory. If you've heard of Blake Mills, I'll tell you my theory. Otherwise, I won't tell you because probably won't mean anything. But if you guys have heard of a guy called Blake Mills, if you haven't heard of Blake Mills, go now and check him out, because he's like one of the best sort of unknown young guitar players in America, or he should be known more, but I think he's rather unknown. He's probably more known now as a producer in America, because he produces out of the Ocean Way Studios. And he's produced John Legend, produced the Alabama Shakes. He was in a band of Horse. Okay, he was in a band of Horses for a split second. I actually think it's cool. Okay. So yeah, we're talking. It looked like an alternate reality model from Fender. Oh, thank you, Aaron. Thank you. So we're talking about Blake Mills, one of my favourite sort of new guitar players. So the reason I mention him is because I'm going to link. This is a theory I have. I don't know if it's true. If I ever meet Blake Mills, I'm going to ask him this question. But there's an album called Mambo Sinuendo, and it was made by Ry Cooder. He went to Cuba, and he took a load of gear. He took a load of racks with him. He took Neve Uri compressors and Neve channel strips. He took loads of studio stuff and some really cool mics, and he just shipped it all down to Cuba. And Cuba's at that time, I don't know if it's still like it. They have obviously electrical. It's not the best electricity, and you have shutdowns and blackouts, whatever it's called. And but anyway, he took all this really flashy gear down there, very good gear, boutique stuff, and he recorded this album called Mambo Sinuendo, and the production on this album is one of my favourite production sort of albums ever. Just very simple, but he really captured the studio, the studio sound of this album, Ry Cooder Mambo Sinuendo. And it's with another Cuban guitarist called Manuel Galbon, who's a great Cuban player, And anyway, my theory is that not only is it my favourite album, but it's Blake Mills' favourite album, and maybe that album spurred him onto becoming a producer, because I'm pretty sure the production on his second his second album, which is called Hi Ho, is almost identical. It's very, very similar. He even uses the same. Oh no, Jim Keltner. He uses Jim Keltner, but Jim Keltner, I think Raikuda's son, Joaquim, played on the Mambo Sinuendo album. But anyway, my theory is that sort of Blake Mills heard that Mambo Sinuendo album, listened, checked out the production, and has used that production on a lot of his projects. You know, that sort of nice studio, very ambient studio sound, but you actually use the studio space. You're not trying to create like the Royal Albert Hall or, you know, a massive, you know, field or something. You're using the studio sound and a lot of ambient miking and reverbs and stuff. And I think that really influenced Blake Mills' production style of that album. But so that would be a question if I meet him in person ever. I would say, you know, is that an album that influenced your production sort of techniques? So if you haven't heard the album, check out Mambo Sinuendo. Just put it on. It's kind of like a background album that you can put on, and your wife or girlfriend will probably will like it, because it's kind of like a bit of a worldy music. It's not like a Steve Vai solo album or a, you know, Robin Ford album. It's nice sort of background music. So yeah, check it out. Mambo Sinuendo. It's definitely one of my favorite albums, and it's kind of an album that got me into Cooder. I think that was one of the first albums where I thought, wow, you know, who's this guy? I really like him, you know. And yes, so where we had some other questions I think we had here. What's the best affordable guitar under £1,000 Strat on the market in your opinion? Okay, let me go and get my Strat and let's talk about Strats. Okay. Okay. So this is, I did a video on this very guitar recently. So the neck on the Coodercaster came from this. This was the body of the Navigator, the ESP Navigator, and I took the neck off this and put it on the Coodercaster. And this neck here I had made because I just couldn't get a neck that had everything I wanted. I wanted a Brazilian board, 6100 frets. I wanted these stupid tuners. I wanted some flashy maple. I don't know why I did that. That was crazy. Yeah, and I just got it made. And it was a bit of a, you know, I think I would never do that again. I would just look for a guitar that I liked all in one piece. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it because I did actually, well, what I did a trick. I got the builder to build me a huge neck, tree trunk neck. And there's a guy called Daniel's Guitar who I've interviewed on this channel, who makes replica Les Pauls, and he makes his own guitars as well. And he's actually sort of shaped the neck, because I just wanted to really get the shape right, you know. I've got a thing about Stratocasters that I'm very particular. Other guitars like an SG, I don't really care. It can be anything, any sort of nut width. You know, like a Flying V from 67 has got a narrow nut, as opposed to the Flying Vs from 58, which have got the wide nuts, you know. But for me, that doesn't matter. But on a Strat, it does matter. So, for example, the nut width here has got to be thin enough that you can get your hand round to do that kind of thing, you know. Get your thumb over the neck, because if the nut is too wide, then you can't get your thumb over, or your thumb kind of hurts. You get a bit of wood stuck right there, and it's uncomfortable. But then you need enough wood there to. I've got big palms, and I need the wood so that when I'm doing bends, you know, when I'm bending, I use two fingers to bend, and my thumb's over, and then I can bend up and vibrate. Which bending up and vibrating is like, you know, the hardest technique probably on guitar. You know, like Dave Gilmour's, you know, perfected that. But for me to be able to get that to happen on the Stratocaster, I just need these kind of dimensions. So in the end, I got so tired of you know, I bought 20 Strats and none of them were working for me. So then I got this one made. So it's got a 41.5 millimeter nut width. So it's the vintage nut width, not 42, but the vintage Fenders from 60s, you know, mid 60s. So that would be my thing, is if you could get for £1,000, you can get a very good Japanese Strat, but you can get an ESP. But it's, trouble is with a lot of these guitars where you have to send away for them, you need to play them in a shop. This is the thing with the Stratocaster more than any other guitar, is you really, really need to go to a shop near you and play 20 of them, and just, when you go to a Strat, just go like this, and you go like that, see how the guitar rings. Is it dead? Is there any vibration coming out of this body? It should have a nice ring to it, a nice ping. Play some licks don't play it through an amp, just play it acoustically. The strings may be old, but you'll know if the guitar is alive. And then it doesn't matter, because you got to remember with a Strat, if there's something you don't like about a Strat, you can change it. You can change the pickups, you can change the tremolo system, you can change the capacitor, you can change anything. All really a Strat is this and that. It's the neck and the body. Everything else you can change. So that would be my thing, is that it's good wood on the body, the neck is good, that you're comfortable with the neck, and then everything else is changeable. And so that's why I would go to a shop with 20 Strats, play them, just play the Strat that feels comfortable and it's got a nice ring, and then you can just change up everything else. That would be my opinion of how to buy a Stratocaster. I wouldn't do what I did, which is get the neck made in the Middle East, buy a Japanese very high-end guitar that you pulled apart. I made all the mistakes, but I've actually ended up with an okay guitar. But it's kind of, in future I'd go to Nashville. I'd go to the guitar shop in Nashville or wherever the good guitar shops are, and I'd play 20 Strats, and then I'd choose one. Fender is a great. I think Fender, they're much better than Gibson. Gibson quality is still pretty lame, in my opinion. But Fender seem to be doing some really good stuff. The lower ranges are good. The Mexican stuff is excellent value for money. If you can get something second hand. I buy all my stuff second hand. Very rarely do I buy a new guitar. So I would be a nightmare for guitar manufacturers, because I just don't buy anything new. The reason I don't buy anything new, for two things. I think that if you buy something second hand, you're going to save money. It's like a car, isn't it? You're going to save money. And also, like for example, somebody relicked this and did a really awful job on this body. But this guitar would have been £3,400. And because it's been relics, I got it for £650. So I've saved £2,500. And this is very good quality. The wood's good quality. It's very well built. So and also you got to remember this. You got to figure into this. Wood is wood. Just because a piece of wood costs £3,000 or £200, it's still the same wood. You don't. There's not a grade of a tree that's better than another one if it's the same wood. It's all, unless one wood could ring more, could be more resonant. So when you tap it, it's got. But that could even just happen in a tree. The stump. A lot of the time they have Brazilian rosewood, but it's from the stump of the tree, because they're not allowed to cut down trees anymore. So they take the Brazilian rosewood now in the rainforest from the stumps that are left, and it's not particularly good quality for use on instruments. So where the wood comes from in the tree, and we get back to the best thing to do is play the guitar, have it in your hands, play it, and then see if you like it. I've read a lot of guys that they go to, they'll hop on in America, they'll hop onto a plane, fly to the next state, try the second-hand guitar. Do they like it? Yeah, I'll buy it. So people are willing to spend $200 on a flight and back. They might not like the guitar, they might not come back with anything. But if you're spending say $1,500 or $2,000, then it's worth doing it. So if I'm going to give advice to you, I would say try and play the guitar first, and then everything else you can change out. And I love, the great thing about a Strat is that, even Stevie Ray Vaughan with his vintage Stratocaster, he changed everything. So he changed the whole tremolo system. He had these, he put these in, The pickups stayed the same, but a lot of the other stuff was corroded, so they just changed them. Have you ever played Matt from Monty's Pickups, specifically his paths? Okay, Monty's is Monty a guy who there's another channel, a guy from Cornwall who has a YouTube channel. He's quite a nice guy, nice player. Can't remember the name of his channel though, but he interviewed the guy from Monty. So is Monty kind of, he's middle-aged, grey hair? Is this the right guy? Are we talking about the same guy here? If so, he makes, because I thought there was one guy that just made Strat pickups, if I've got this right. Because I've also met a younger guy at a guitar show who was making pickups and has got a really good name, and that might be Monty. So is Monty an older guy or a younger guy? Or if, let's have a look. No, Matt Gleason from London. So he's about 30, 35 years old, is that right? So I'm confused. Sorry about this, guys. Let's see if we can work this one out. Matt from Monty. Okay, so if this is the younger guy, yeah, he's a younger chap. Yeah, all right, okay. So you know Bob, who I sometimes do this show with, he is a massive fan of Monty Pickups, and yeah, he's in his 30s. Yeah, so and he makes Monty. So yeah, Bob is a huge fan of Monty's Pickups. He loves Monty's Pickups, and you know I'm kind of into Mojo Pickups myself. Mark from Mojo. He's my kind of go-to pickup guy, but Bob absolutely adores Monty's Pickups. So you know Bob knows what he's talking about. You know, Bob knows tone because he's got a lot of nice guitars in his house and a lot of nice amplifiers. So yeah, Bob he champions Monty's Pickups. I've never played them myself, but you know you got it from the horse's mouth. Bob says they're amazing, so there you go. I'm into Marx Pickups in a big way, and the reason I like Marx Pickups is because he's a no bullshit guy. I've played a lot of 60 Strats. When I say a lot, I played about 20 in my time, and I've never thought, you know, when you play, regardless of the hype, a 60s, you know, they're not like, you know, you're not picking up the Holy Grail, and it sounds incredible when, you know, lightning comes out. You know, it's basically they're just pickups, and some sound weedy, some sound like they're broken, and kind of Mojo his pickups, and they're not like Lollar. You know, Lollar pickups, for example, sound massive. They sound huge and really beautiful, chimey, sound amazing. But real Fender 60s pickups don't sound like that. You know, not the ones I played anyway. You know, so Lollar kind of over-engineered. They're too good. You know, they're kind of so good that he's kind of gone beyond what Fender were really like. Probably same with Lindy Freyland's. I love Lindy Freyland's early handmade pickups. You know, amazing. So if you want a kind of really true to what I've heard, you know, not the best of the best, but just like a stock 60s pickup, Mojo's your man. So wait a minute. Neil, hey Ramon, bass player here who wishes your brother would make more videos. Have a word with him. We're going to talk about that in a sec, but I will pass that on, Neil, to Joe. I promise you. What do you think of Ebony board Strats? And if you had to choose, would you prefer an Ash Strat or an older Strat? Okay, so right, Ebony boards. No, I would say no, because with my amplifiers, it would just be too much high end. You know, there's a lot of highs, and I get a lot of highs from a Strat anyway with a rosewood board, and I think that would be over the top. You know, it's like a 335, like a BB King 335 with an ebony board. Some people love it, but I prefer a 335 because it's a little bit duller. You know, and then it's the same as a Les Paul and an SG. You don't have to change up too much. Right, talking about ash bodies, this is an ash body here, and it's a beautiful kind of more dry, I'd say more resonant and drier kind of wood than maple. Maple just seems more dense, and you're probably going to tell me I'm completely wrong here, but this particular piece of wood anyway is very dry, resonant, rings like a bell. It's great for the slide. It's fantastic. More spongy, sort of bit duller, if I could say. I think older's duller, but it's that classic, it's that classic sound from the 60s, So make of that of what you will. Let's have a look. Here we got. So, have you ever tried a Van Weelden Royal Overdrive? It's a great pedal to get the D-style sound and playability. Ove. Van Weelden is a very clean builder. His amplifiers inside them are like a work of art. The man is very, very good with the soldering iron, so I'm imagining that it's going to sound good. And at the end of the day, Van Weelden, he's built Dumble style amplifiers, so he knows what's, and he's looked inside real Dumbles, I know that for a fact. So, he's going to know exactly how to build one, yeah. Okay. You're playing as better. Too kind. No, I'm working on my playing like everybody, like all of us. Sometimes you pick up a guitar and you think, what's happened to my playing? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. We have good days, we have bad days. Just keep practicing. Keep getting inspired, learning something new. Learn something from Nigeria, learn something from Iraq, from something from Missouri, and from Calgary. Is that a place in Canada? Yeah. Learn something little. Check out music from all over the world. Learn something, a little nugget, and then put it all together, and then that's you. That's how I think of music. Just if you just learn one thing. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, but if I just played Stevie Ray Vaughan, I would be a very boring person. And also the worst thing. I'd probably start wearing his clothes, which he had very unusual clothes. Let's say, well, for an Englishman. Yes. Okay. Thank you. They're so kind with the compliments. I guess what I didn't want to do with this channel is basically everybody is doing reviews or playing the guitar and saying, look at my playing. I'm a great player. Check out this. So what I wanted to do is kind of give you guys some information, like be an asset rather than a hindrance. I don't want to be like a celeb hungry guitar player. I was like, no, if I'm going to do a channel, it's to put some information, because I'm actually really into nerdy things. I'm a bit of a nerd, so I like knowing what pedals and what amps and what guitars, and I think that's something I can give. But all the information's out there. I've just put it into a video. I'm not doing anything special, but it takes a little bit of time of research, and it's fun to do. It's kind of like writing a book, but in a 10-minute video, and it's fun to do. And so with the channel, I'm trying to give something to you guys. And there's too many lessons. There's too many guys giving lessons. So I thought, there's no point in me doing that. So I think you need to find your niche. And once you've got that niche, whatever it may be, then you want to stick to doing that. Right. Let's have a look. Did anyone else leave a message? Where are we? I think I missed something out here. Haha, if only I played Stevie Ray Vaughan, I would be a very boring person. I hope Matthew Scott is not watching. Okay, Stevie Ray Vaughan was not Matthew Scott, whoever that is, apologies. Stevie Ray Vaughan himself was obviously not boring. The man was a force of nature, and he kind of got blues popular again, and he was a very generous guy and very driven, very career driven. So, and he took many different styles. Johnny Guitar Watson, his brother Jimmy Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, Albert King. Nobody had really taken Albert King's licks, I think, as much as he had. Hendrix played a bit, and but Stevie Ray Vaughan really went to that place. So Stevie Ray Vaughan's good because Stevie Ray Vaughan for me was like Jaco Pastorius, a very similar kind of hands. Look at the hand of Stevie Ray Vaughan. Look at the hands of Jaco Pastorius, the great bass player. They have that strength, and stamina and that really hardcore groove. Even though one's a master musician, jazz harmony, Jaco Pastorius, and Stevie's a blues, pretty much a blues guy. But the techniques, the passion and the knowledge of their individual styles was pretty much phenomenal, And Jaco was somebody that Jaco Pastorius, if he came and played the bass in your band, like on TV, if you watch a TV show and Jaco's on there playing, it's like all your eyes are going to be on Jaco because he just had that mad, strong sound. And Stevie Ray Vaughan was the same. You watch when he was on Saturday Night Live, I think, and they had the great Will Lee bass player in the band, and I think Hiram Bullock, if I said that right, Hiram Bullock, amazing, sadly died. Great fusion guitar player, but Stevie Ray Vaughan came on and was a guest, and his playing is incredible. He just blew everyone else out the water. He was that kind of a guy, So that's but I'm more reserved as a person in my playing, so I can't be Stevie Ray Vaughan, and also I don't want to wear those clothes. I mean, I do want to wear those clothes, but and I'm up for wearing quirky. I wear sometimes Tunisian or Moroccan clothes, but I think if I went to Stevie Ray Vaughan with a hat and the cowboy boots, where I live in this area, I'd probably get beaten up. So it'd probably be better I don't wear them. Here we are. Okay, yeah, thank you, John. The history videos are a lot of fun to do. They're really hard work. They require a lot of concentration, but I love doing them. They're really good fun. He has his own channel and plays a lot of SRV. Hey, all power to somebody that wants to go into one guy. But I think there's a guitarist called Oznoy. Now he's a bit of a strange player, but a great player, really, really great player, and he plays kind of rock and jazz and blues, mixes it all up. And he's kind of more interesting for me because he's somebody that's taken a bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan and put it into his style, rather than try to channel Stevie Ray Vaughan into his own personality. I think if you can take a little bit of each player, that's where you're going to be a winner. Right, here we go. What would you take between a vintage Fender Tweed Deluxe versus a vintage Deluxe Reverb, and why? Oh, thanks, K.A. Right, what would I take? A Fender Tweed Deluxe or a Deluxe Reverb? Personally, I would take the Tweed any day. For me, it's all about the Tweed. The Tweed is king. Tweed is the best. You Americans made an incredible, Leo Fender made an incredible amp, and the Tweed stuff is the stuff that's going to be worth the money in the future. It's going to be worth a lot of money. So if you can get hold of a Tweed amp, you're the man, because that's what it's all about. Nowadays, I think in the 80s and 90s, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was all about the black face amp, the 60s amp, because we were all into Stevie Ray Vaughan, But now, and then the blues players, but now it's all about Tweed. Tweed is the new blackface, and everybody's Joe Bonamassa. Everybody, Dumble is, modding Tweed amps. So it's gone back to Tweed. And like I was saying earlier, the smaller Tweed amps are even better if you get the small ones like the Deluxe. Right. I don't think SRV himself, Greg says, I don't think SRV himself was boring though. Anyone who says that is hiding behind their losses and how to handle it. I know Greg and everyone. I know a lot of jazz musicians here in London, and sometimes they poo-poo Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's just a blues player. I ain't got time to listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm a jazz musician. I can only listen to jazz. And it's the same as people. The famous saying in the Blues Brothers. If it ain't country and western, no. There's only two types of music: country and western. So the people that just listen to country and western are just as bad as people that just listen to jazz, or just listen to classical. You need to be listening to every style of music. I love jazz, I love blues, and in the morning I might put on Chet Baker. Chet Baker is a trumpet player. Guitar players, listen to Chet Baker. Okay, in the morning when you're making your toast, eating your cornflakes, drinking a beer. No, you don't drink beer in the morning. Listen to Chet Baker, he'll chill you out. And his lines are very melodic. And you can, you don't have to copy it, you don't have to learn it. Just listen to it and let that wash over you. And then you'll play guitar in a beautiful way, because Chet Baker was a man when it came to melody. So, I think Stevie Ray Vaughan can coexist amongst everybody. He brought something really amazing. But if you focus on him as a player too much, then you're going to be a very one-dimensional player yourself, Okay, where are we? I think, so Arvin said, I think if you wear that stuff where SRV lived, you would get beaten up too. Don't know how he got away with it. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that before, I've heard that before, that's funny. Thank you. Greg, I play all low output with vintage black faces and diamond. Black faces, they're the king of amps, they're the hi-fi kings. If you want that big, that's what I think of blackface. It was high fidelity. Where Tweed were little sort of rocking amps, Fender designed the blackface amp, which really, the Dumble was kind of coming out of that whole hi-fi sort of thing, really. Although Dumbles have a bit of Tweed, the kind of mid-rangey sort of Tweed overdrive thing happening, but the Fender blackface was the it was the advancement of Leo Fender's range. It was the pinnacle. It didn't get any better, it got worse. With the Silverface, the quality went down, but those blackface amps, they are, if you've got one of them, what else do you need, But just for me personally, at the moment, I'm really into the Tweed sound, and that's why I couldn't afford. I'd say I couldn't afford, actually. I could have afforded it because Tweeds aren't that expensive, but compared to guitars of the era, anyway. But yeah, I think if you can get a Tweed amp or a Tweed style amp, you're gonna really be in a good place. My friend's got a Telstar amp. I don't know if you've heard of Telstar. And it's a really interesting amp. It's got a 6V6 and an EL84 in the same amp. I don't know how they've done that, but they are very, very good. Yes, Greg. Yeah, so Telstar. It's a bit expensive, but my friend's got one. It's a very, very good Tweedy style amp, And the Dumble is more of a... The Dumble is kind of a strange thing because it's kind of got a bit of the blackface hi-fi thing happening, but it doesn't have the scoop that a blackface amp has. It's much more mid-range. So it's kind of got that sort of honky Tweed thing with the hi-fi blackface thing kind of in one amp and very refined. And that's really what the great man who's still going is. Check out a video, actually, guys, of Kenny Wayne Shepherd. He's got some kind of a rig rundown, and he's talking about his Dumble amps, and he's got about 9 of them, and so Dumble is still he's still doing it, Okay, what have we got here? Do you have any hollow semi-body guitars? If not, what would you choose to play? Right, very good question. I love semi-hollows. I love 335s. I've just sold a couple of them because I want to get a couple of new ones in. I always say this: you need one kind of semi-acoustic F-hole guitar. So something like a 335, or Collins do a really upmarket one. You can get some really cheap Japanese stuff like the Aria. I can't remember the name of it. I think Dweezil Zappa played one, if I remember rightly. Or somebody did, some big name in America played one. Oh no, I'll tell you who. Larry Coryell's son, that's it. Jazz guitarist called Larry Coryell. His son played an Aria Pro 2 semi sort of hollow thing. Very cheap, they're like £300, but they're killer guitars, made in Japan. And then I love archtops. But I would probably now personally get a George Benson Ibanez. That's probably going to be my next guitar, because they're small bodies, they're laminates, so you don't have the problems inherent in a sort of a carved archtop. Pleasure, Greg. Pleasure, Greg. EJ. Hello, EJ. over, yeah, Ibanez Art Core are really, really good, and you've also got some really good makes like Dikisto and D'Angelico, who are made in Aria, the Aria factory. And Larry Coryell, he actually played a Court guitar. So maybe, you know, Court have got a factory out in, I think it's Korea or somewhere, and they're making pretty much, you know, they're making G&L guitars, they're making all kinds of guitars out there. What do you prefer acoustically? Okay, I'm going to show you an amazing guitar now. Okay guys, this is my acoustic. A little bit of a story to tell you about this. It hasn't got all its strings, so I can't really play it, but ES339, no. Is that the small body one? If that's a small body, don't get it. You've got to go full semi, or don't bother, you know. Go the 335, 345, 355, whatever. 330. But I'm guessing the 339 is a small body. I wouldn't bother. I'd get, you know, maybe I'm wrong, but I would go the whole thing, because any of the smaller guitars just don't have the same kind of tone, you know. If you can find a Gibson Midtown custom, then you will have a great semi-hollow. Yeah, again, probably a very good guitar. Have you heard of, Aaron says, have you heard of, listen to Valley Caseras, Ciudad Sin Cielo? Okay, I haven't heard of that, but thank you, thanks a million. And EJ says, I've always kind of wanted one of those Yamaha SGs. Okay, the Yamaha SGs, that was Santana's best ever guitar tone. He had a Yamaha SG, it's my belief, on a Braxis, going through a Mesa Boogie, which was the first Mesa Boogie ever made with an alto. I think it had a JBL speaker, but that was Santana's best ever tone. He sounded far better on the Yamaha than he did on the PRS. Okay, this acoustic is called an Eric Bibb Signature. I actually got to play with Eric Bibb on one concert. He hired me. And if anybody knows Eric Bibb, if you don't know Eric Bibb, he's son of Leon Bibb. But check out Eric Bibb, he's an amazing singer and guitar, acoustic blues guitarist. And I liked his sound so much that I bought his signature guitar, which was very expensive. But it's made by a guy in England called Filed Guitars. Okay, so really, you know, it's cherry. I don't know what these woods are, but it's beautiful guitar. It's actually broken. I've actually cracked it here and there just from the amount of gigs I've done. So it's got to go back up to Roger Bucknell, who built this guitar. But yeah, that's my acoustic. You can get really good acoustics real cheap at Tanglewood. Do some really good ones as well, you know. So check out Tanglewood, or you know, Gibson obviously do Guilds. You know, Guilds are brilliant. And so for acoustic, Kayari, it's a Japanese make called Kayari. I really like those guitars. And Tommy Emmanuel plays Maton Australian guitars, and they have the EGB 808, I think it's called, and that's a really amazing guitar. It's got really good electronics inside, so that's what I would recommend for that. Nylon string guitars, yeah, you know, that's a funny thing. They can break and still sound great. Epiphones, I'm a big fan of Epiphones. You know, Prince's guitar player played a blue Epiphone Sherrington, I think. If anybody knows what that guitar is, I've only ever seen it in Prince's guitar player. He had it the whole career he was with Prince, and he still has it now even, and I'd love to know what that guitar is. It's all blue, it looks beautiful. It's an Epiphone, it sounds fantastic, and I can't remember the guitarist's name, but he's a really good, he's a bass player and a real funky sort of guitar player. Okay guys, that's it for today's Q&A. I'm going to be back next Sunday, probably a little bit early, maybe 1 or 2 hours earlier. But thanks a million for tuning in, and you've been wonderful. And yeah, I can tell you the next video we're going to do, it's going to be at the end of next week, will be Jimmy Page's effects pedals. So if that's a heads up on the next guitar sort of history video. I've always been interested in Jimmy Page's fuzz sort of tones and what he played on those first two albums, and you know, the Yardbirds and that kind of era, and also, you know, what he was playing sort of on Kashmir and live, you know, when he played the Sears catalogue guitar, Dan Electro, when he played the Dan Electro for Kashmir, you know, what at there's a great Nebworth video, and he's using some kind of a phaser, which I think it's just the MXR 45, I think, was it 90? I can't remember now, MXR 90. So we're going to be looking at Jimmy's pedals. Right, you know what, Jimmy Jam, hold that thought, because I'm actually going to do a YouTube video on that. You know, so I will do my favourite and my worst channels, and I'm going to do a whole video on that, because it'll be pretty funny, I think, and I'll probably get a lot of flack back from that, but I'm gonna make a bit of harmless fun out of some YouTubers, so that would be good fun. So if you've got any suggestions, any people that you really can't stand, then let me know. Okay guys, have a great night. It's Monday morning tomorrow, you've got to work, but have a great sleep, have a great evening, and wherever you are in the world, sweet dreams, and I'll see you next Sunday. Take care guys, God bless, and I shall see you soon. Right, here we go. This is